Welcome back to WCS America round of 16. Group B, we're in match number 4 of 5. It's been a very long day, but it's been a very enjoyable long day, Rotterdam. The games have been very interesting, not always the most spectacular, but still really interesting to watch and figure out how these players are playing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A lot of back and forth, and a lot of times where I'm surprised in the middle of the game, and people sometimes think like, "Oh, commentator, he's surprised. That means he had it wrong." I actually like being surprised because that keeps the game fresh for me. It's not fun when you can always just, predict what is going to happen. I love it, and today that has definitely happened. A lot of times I was like, "I'm not sure about it." Wow, actually that works out really well, and like that's really cool.
Yeah,
so
second map, particularly Revival Alicia. We were sitting in here thinking Revival's looking really good. No, wait, no, he doesn't look really good. Alicia looks really. No, wait, hang on, he doesn't look really good.
Now, all of us, like Funka and also us too, we didn't notice those DTs immediately slicing away at the Swarmers, because that's something that normally doesn't happen. Above all, there was an overseer above that army, so we just kind of kept going, and it's like suddenly like, hey, where are the Swarmers? And then like you see the last 2 Dark Templars slicing away everything. It's like, okay, that's a really cute move, because that's exactly what he needed. And after that, he played it out well as well. Very entertaining games, I think, and
yeah,
cool to see Alicia win that group, because after game 1, Revival looked untouchable to me.
Yeah, no, same for me. I thought it's going to be a Zerg day, and he's going to top the group. But as it was Alicia. Let's just confirm the brackets for you at home if you are just joining us, or you've missed any of the action so far. This is what Group B looks like. Of course, Alicia becomes the first player to go through in Group B. He advances to the round of 8, which he's done already before, and he will now face one of the top players. Well, only the second place players from one of the 4 groups, and it can't be the one that finishes second in this group, so that's quite good. So he's got a choice of 3 players. The last place is still up for grabs, as you can see at the bottom of the bracket. Neeb and HuK now take their turns to face off against each other, and the winner will go on to play Revival for that final place out of Group B. HuK versus Neeb. It's such a difficult match for both of these players for a number of different reasons why. I mean, Neeb obviously didn't get to show us quite what he's made of in game 1, and I know that he's eager to do that. Likewise, HuK, we should also mention that the man hates travelling long distance. I mean, he's always bemoaning the fact that he has to travel long distances. And had an even longer travel to get here because he had a flight cancelled in the middle of his connection, which meant 20 hours in the air. And then he got here and his luggage isn't here. So, he's really had a torrid time. I don't want to make excuses for the man because I know he wouldn't make them for himself anyway, and that's not what I'm saying. But it's got to be difficult. I mean, you've done this. You've been the pro gamer. You've lost luggage. You've been all over the world and been 30 hours in the air. Tell me, how hard is it to concentrate and play?
Yeah, I actually had exactly identical scenario because HuK also used contacts, and I flew to Moscow once, and then I didn't have contact solution, and I tried to get it in the store. They didn't have the ones I needed, so my eyes burned even more. It was a very frustrating trip. I also didn't do that well, but that wasn't because of the luggage. That was more because of me. But yeah, that can really be frustrating. But at the end of the day, I always think of Stefano, WCS Europe 2012. He flew in on the morning of the event from Los Angeles, and I was actually there with Stefano for the entire week. That kid played like 3 games, so I was making predictions of like, Stefano, he's going to do so bad this weekend. Then he shows up on Saturday morning, he wins the tournament. So as you said, HuK is not a player to make excuses. I don't think he would do it. It's all really annoying, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to let it go. You're going to have to sit down and play your games like Elias did back then, and he rolled over that tournament. So,
talking about Neeb, he's 16 years old. He has $3,675 to his name in Korea. It's at the very beginning of his career, so you wouldn't expect him to be earning much money right now. He's going to get a decent chunk of money, whatever happens today, so that's good news. But in terms of experience, he is obviously massively lacking it in comparison to HuK, who we've said earlier was a triple Premier tournament winner, albeit 902 days ago was his last tournament win. But he's been there and seen it. He's used to playing these up-and-coming youngsters, whippersnappers that are trying to take the titles away. But Neeb's TVP right now doesn't sit inside the top 50 in the world. It's his worst matchup of the 3, not statistically, but in terms of ranking positions on a Ligulac. Do we put too much pressure on some of these new guys that come through? I mean, there's a couple. We've had Hero Marine come through in Germany. He has done fantastically well winning EPS Germany, which is a very competitive EPS as well.
I know it.
But I'm just conscious that maybe we put too much on it. I mean, some of the Koreans that have come through over the last couple of years, Maru, for instance, Life, both youngsters, 16 years of age, go on and win GSLs. Why do you think it takes longer for the Western Europeans and the North Americans to come through?
I mean, there's probably more things going on in their life as well, but it's hard. Are we putting too much pressure on them? Maybe not, but I also think it's all just the story that we really want. Like, we want to cheer for that little boy wonder that all blows us away and does things that we cannot do. So it's also that, you know, we're maybe overhyping things before they're actually there, because Neeb has shown us some great things, but we shouldn't like to be like, oh, Neeb is coming into WCS America to win it all. It's like, no, it's fantastic that Neeb makes it to the round of 16, and anything from this point is a bonus. I think he's definitely capable of putting up a really good fight against HuK. If you talk about his TVP, like you mentioned before, I felt that like his TVP in the start of the recent Mine patch was actually quite good, because I felt he really enjoyed playing with Wither Mines against the Charged World Storm openings. Today, earlier, he played against Colossus openings, and he seems to struggle a little bit against this. HuK is also a player that picks up on that kind of stuff immediately. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see him open up with a Colossus build. Also because HuK is versatile, that comes with experience. You travel around this world and see like, hey, okay, well, maybe I should just do that. And these players are so good that they see something and they might as well roll with it. Even when you practice 10, 15 games, something else, if you think like, oh, I can execute that, if that's going to work, if that's good, then I might just do it.
Okay, they have played once before, only once.
Okay.
And Neeb has a 2-0 head-to-head record.
When was this? Do you know it? Was it the MLG Invitational or? Yeah, I think it was.
Possibly.
I think it was the Invitational
possibly.
tournament.
I actually can't remember when they played, but I made a note of the fact that he had a 2-0 map win over HuK. So he's got a little bit of a psychological advantage there. But I mean, can he use that in any way right now? Is it going to help him?
I don't think it's going to help him. I mean, it's just a pass. It's nice that he gets the confirmation for himself, like, hey, I can beat this guy. But I also think that HuK would not underestimate Neeb. HuK is also someone who's pretty in touch with the North American scene. So it's not like HuK has no idea what's happening around him. He knows about guys like Neeb. He knows that they're good. He's not going to underestimate him. He's going to give it all he has.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. The map vetoes are just moments away. I can see actually our admin is already in position with them. So let's go over to our commentary team for this one and enjoy our fourth match of Group B.
Thank you, Red Eye. Welcome to the commentator's desk. I'm Nathanius. With me, the only man I would want to cast a Terran versus Protoss with, Todd. How do you feel about this match coming up? We have the vetoes about to start. Some TVP action.
Feeling pretty good. You know, Neeb earlier, he lost against some very aggressive builds, some very nicely timed attacks executed by Alicia. Now he's up against somebody who likes to be super aggressive, who likes to make those gateways and go for attacks time after time. So he's gonna have to be super wary of that, and he's gonna have to keep that in the back of his mind to make sure he doesn't get surprised like he did before, because I really think he got completely caught off guard earlier when he played against Alicia twice.
Yeah, I feel like the style that Alicia used it was aggressive in its own way, but not in the kind of style that you would expect from somebody like from HuK. And as we can see in the vetoes, reflecting some of the standard Terran vetoes, Alterzim's Stronghold, of course, Daedalus Point vetoed, and of course HuK taking out Habitation Station.
It's funny how like Daedalus Point is always vetoed, but it's not necessarily like one race vetoing it. Like, I think it's a tricky map to play PvT on for both races, and a lot of players, they're going to want to stay away from that as much as possible. Blink is very strong on it. Then again, you know, there are new builds that are allowed to be safer against build, but he's up against HuK, somebody who can definitely execute a very good 4-gate Blink one base, or even on 2 bases with more gateways. So I understand the veto here by Neeb. Yeonsu, Frost, and Heavy Rain. So again, super standard maps to play on. 2 of those maps are very, very good for Blink Stalkers, Yeonsu and Heavy Rain. Frost, the 1-4 player map that's always played in every single series. Neeb is, I would say, Neeb, he has a very solid standard style that he likes to stick to, like a lot of Terrans. I feel like Terrans is very black and white. Like, they either play very standard and they try to get it perfectly with the one same build a lot of the time, or they are like super crazy, like they proxy Reaper into proxy Factory with like quick medivacs and stuff like that. And Neeb definitely in the first category here, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's pretty much played out standard 3 racks after Reaper expand in pretty much every game. I remember there's a series, if you guys tune into the round of 32 for WCS America, Neeb played some fantastic macro Terran vs Protoss against Minigun, and it looked like he wanted to try to do that against Alicia, but it seems like he could also be a player that just tunnel visions on his build order too much. He clearly, if HuK was watching those games, Neeb didn't open up with a bunker against Alicia in either of the games that they played. He just built a third command center at a standard timing without really taking
what I
into
said about that.
consideration.
I felt like he was on autopilot.
Yeah, he's
somehow.
totally on autopilot. It's exactly what it looked like. You see a Colossus push coming towards you, and you start your third command center. It's going to leave you.
It's about that time I need to start it, right?
Yeah, this is about when you should begin it, and then you build it right in front of the Colossus that's coming after you. It's like, well, maybe things get a little bit difficult there. So I feel like he needs to, like, he can focus on his macro, and I'm certain that's most of what he practices. He's very good at it, but he needs to be flexible in responding to what he sees in the beginning of the game.
What surprised me there in that game on Heavy Rain versus Alicia is that he didn't have a single bunker at his natural.
Yeah.
His units were actually up the ramp. So as much as he had the opportunity to counterattack with 2 medivacs filled with units, he went where there was the photon of a charge. It was defended, and then he lost a bunch of units. And when he went for the other base, there wasn't enough units left to deal with the one Colossus that had come out, and plus the extra units in defense for Alicia. So that was, again, very, very good execution by Alicia. But Neeb, he's going to have to play better here against somebody like HuK than he did versus Alicia. Not because HuK is better than Alicia in particular, but I think HuK here is going into this match thinking that he has to take out Neeb, and then he has one PvP to win. And I think these two matchups, they are clearly his best. As much as the percentage we just saw here, he wasn't that far behind versus Zerg. I really do think that he's so much better versus Protoss and Terran overall, and he's been throughout his entire career. Would you agree?
I think especially in those matchups where you can be aggressive with the early micro play. Yeah.
With the gateways.
The gateways. All
with
of the
HuK
gateways.
gateways.
The HuK gateways. And Neeb, you know, he's been paying very careful attention to some of these gateway timings. He being very careful to defending on the Heavy Rain game. He actually was anticipating a fast attack. Actually had a bunker at like the top of his main ramp very early on. He's when you play a lot of ladder and you try to play macro styles, especially as a Terran, you're generally just grinding out one build order every game. And when you look at a player like Neeb, he's the kind of person that has to be prepared and ready to hold anything. And HuK is.
What does that mean?
He's prepared. He's prepared for us, is what that means. This is going to be a fun match either way, I imagine. Starting off on Yeonsu though, this should be good. And Neeb does not have anything to say to the camera.
Good blink map. That's all I'm gonna say. Good aggression map, actually. I think this is why we saw it removed earlier by Revival against his Protoss opponents.
Yeah.
Very easy map to proxy pylon zones, which are gonna be hard to find, and very hard map, I guess, to defend on against aggression.
Yeah. It's funny to think about, but even in the match against Alicia, it's not a bad map for Colossus when you're fighting in those so many choke points. But we're here, we're loaded in, we're ready to go. Our first player spawning in the southwest position of Yeonsu, the red Protoss from Team Evil Geniuses. It is HuK, the Canadian Protoss, trying to keep himself alive here in the losers match up against this gentleman in the northeast. The only American left from Team Fnatic, it is Neeb.
HuK has like the dual nationality, right?
Yeah. I think
so he's like
the way it's described is he was actually
double strength North American.
Yeah. He's got a mixed pedigree as far as the nationalities go.
Where are you from in the States, actually?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Do you have like an accent? Can you do an accent?
I don't want to offend
This is
anybody
WCS America, man. No, but like, isn't there an accent like where you're from?
No, North.
You need to teach us a little bit about America.
The North Atlantic is actually known as the news broadcaster accent because it's the least inflected, at least when most people see it.
Okay. That's why you were born to cast StarCraft games.
Maybe if I was from Atlanta, I'd break out my Walking Dead accent. But we have pretty standard opening from Neeb so far. Barracks, gas. Looks like it's probably going to be a Reaper from him. And HuK, 2 gas after Gateway isn't terribly uncommon.
Very quick double gas. HuK strikes me more as the kind of player that would go for just 1 gas in Nexus, you know? There used to be... I remember in Wings of Liberty, he was one of the first guys to always go for a super quick second Nexus with 0 unit. And then behind this, getting a Stalker, you know, playing it safe. There was no Mothership Core at the time. And in this game, going for the very quick double gas, I have to wonder, does he plan for something like a fairly quick Twilight plus some Blink Stalker attack, be it on one base or two bases? Or are we going to see HuK open with his target, something which I never thought I would see in my entire life?
I think his build definitely allows for the Blink after the expand, because he has 2 geysers, but he only has 4 probes on gas, so he's not going for maximum income.
Yeah.
If he wanted to get a Stargate, then I feel like the Reaper could get in Scout, since he can't afford to immediately build a Stargate and get a Stalker and a Mothership Core. So the Mothership Core starts first, then the Stalker. So I still think this could work for Blink, but it's not going to be as fast. And with the Zealot out, he could try to move it across the map.
He could have boosted both, actually, the Stalker and the Mothership Core here. So HuK, as much as I thought this was going to be some tech heavy, again, he's showing me that this could be for some aggression, which he's most known for. So, yeah, I was going to say he's probably going to queue a second Stalker, because when you do this, you want to move across the map with your 3 units. And you're going to need something back at home to help him defend against the 1 Reaper. That's going to be there. So Neeb, he sees this coming. He sees that there was a Zealot finish, that there is a Stalker. Oh, actually, the Mothership Core could get the Reaper!
2 hit
Oh my
points.
god. And at this point, Neeb anticipated this was going to come. He saw it coming, so he got the bunker. He should be perfectly fine. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't gone for a 3rd barracks, but I guess since he had to make this bunker this fast, he didn't have the money for everything.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it when you survive it, because even this investment, if it slows down HuK's ability to tech by getting these units out so fast, then he doesn't have to worry about
is he going for the run by?
an attack coming that soon. Yeah, the Mothership Core is just trying to poke from the high ground. Can't hit that supply depot, so he just has to go home.
Tech is about to be made in HuK space, and we're going to have a Robo plus a Forge, so...
Very standard Kosher opening.
Very standard for a standard Protoss, which HuK really is not.
Maybe not standard for HuK. That's a good point.
Well, yet.
Well,
he has like 5 gateways behind him.
So something outside this game, at least, you know, Neeb plays obviously a lot on the European ladder. The account he's on for Europe. He's Grandmaster. So how much does he actually play versus HuK? Does he play on the North American ladder as much? Where does HuK play? How much does he know about his style aside from the match that they've played before? Does he feel like he needs to be more on the defensive side? He's getting a Twilight Council pretty quick too.
Yeah, I think when I talked about it earlier, I mentioned that Neeb, he's going to have to be very, very careful about what he might be up against. And you see, that scan, you would not necessarily always see that against somebody who likes to play, say, a very standard game and not only all that much. Say, for example, against Minigun, I don't think that Neeb would have had to scan here, just like he did, because you can play a lot more standard and then react as you see things later. But against HuK, you really need to be on top of what he's up to if you want to be able to counter him. And at this point, I have to say, having seen what Neeb saw, I would be wondering what the hell is going on. He saw 1 Forge, 1 Twilight, and 1 Robo facility. It's like, what do you make out of this?
I mean, I guess you could, like, if you could try
Blink
to
plus
blindly
Observer?
guess. Yeah, Blink Observer. I mean, some sort of weird tail-style DT drop. Goodness knows. He's actually going for +1 attack before he gets armor, which I always feel is a weird decision from Protoss.
I think if you use a lot of Robo units, say Immortals into Colossus, which I think we might see, it's good to get the +1 attack and even possibly the +2 attack, but just because you're going to have a lot of damage available, or a lot of extra damage that your units can do. But if you go into charge and Templar, Archons, then it's better to get the armor, in my opinion. But some people, they just get the armor every single time just because they like to go Zealot heavy and then spend their gas somewhere else.
Yeah, I always feel like the attack just means like you have to lean into those robo-based attacks. And I guess with Blink being researched as well, he could be aiming in that direction. Still doesn't have a Robotics Bay on the way. Neeb's going to come up here. Stim is finishing very soon and needs to get that Mothership Core. I like this. He's been trying to bait out the Mothership Core energy as much as possible. Might have to use a second Photon Overcharge this game. He definitely doesn't want to do that because he knows the Medivacs could be on the plate very soon. He just stims forward, picks off the Immortal. He's just boldly diving where very few Terrans are willing to go. And there's the Photon Overcharge, but he's more than made up for the HP loss on those Marines.
Okay, as good as of a trade as this was, he's going to have to make sure he saves those units and heals them, because I think HuK is going to want to gear up for a very, very strong attack with this. Look, he's chrono boosting level 1 ground armor, he's chrono boosting Blink, he's going up to quite a few gateways, 6 in total. If he cuts pro production now, and HuK goes for a timing, and Neeb is not ready, this could be quite deadly. You see there is already a pylon proxied across the map, so we're going to have to keep an eye on the pro production here. And HuK, as much as I think it would be a good idea here to add Colossus to his composition and take a 3rd base, he really is not, again, the kind of player that likes to do that. He likes to bring on the aggression, and he likes to go for timings with a lot of sentry energy, be it for Guardian Shield and Force Fields. At this point, I think he might be waiting for this aggression out of his opponent, which is going to come here in a second. And he has Blink. I think Neeb has no idea that there's Blink available.
Yeah, well, the Stalkers aren't in range to hit these medevacs. There's no Photon Overcharge, so if he unloads, he can try to focus down the Stalkers before the rest of the units get there. I don't know if loading into the medevacs and retreating is really an option since Blink is there.
He's going to try it.
And, well, that surely will not work. First medevac gets picked off. The rest of the units that are trying to retreat, I guess the Blink is on cooldown, so he gets it with one medevac worth. A bunch of Marines just running straight into the natural, and Neeb's playing very gung-ho with his forces. How many probes has he killed in total? 8 workers, so
yeah, quite a few.
Not terrible. The question is, how much does he have to push out before he's overextended himself? Because there's still not a lot of late-game tech here for our HuK.
These 8 walkers that he killed, this is a big deal because HuK was cutting probe production quite heavily. He's on 41 probes to 55 SCVs right now. And with a third base on the way, Neeb is going to be in great position. We have 5 racks up now for Neeb, and 4 of those are with Tech Lab. So he wants to go Marauder heavy, which really is going to help a lot against this many Stalkers. HuK, his timing is going to be now or never, in my opinion. This either works right now and he does a ton of damage, or it doesn't do much and then he loses the game instantly. But Neeb's moving across the map. We could have some sort of a base raid happening here.
This is awkward. That is does he have an observer with his?
He has one, but it's
on
the
left
left-hand side.
It's spotting the one drop over there. So these Widow Mines actually don't have time to burrow anyway. So he's actually just going to punch through this. The natural expansion is essentially forfeit right now. What an awkward situation. For the overcharge cast at the natural, he's going to burrow some of these Widow Mines, and I feel like HuK's just saying, I'm going to try to hold on to my one base and pray that my army can kill yours.
You never want to go into a base trade at this point in the game against a Terran.
Yeah.
He could just pick up, lift off his buildings and hide, and then you couldn't finish him off. If you lose all your Nexus and you can't remake any, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But I think HuK is going to want to try and prevent that from happening. Widow Mines are up the ramp.
He does have Blink. He does have Blink. If he spots him, he could try to do some weird dodging, or maybe I don't think he can come home because if Neeb sees the whole army come back, he's already killed the natural. He could just get in all his medevacs and leave. Yeah, this is just too much from Neeb. He's almost double. He's got like 50 supply lead on HuK. The natural is dead. He still has 3 command centers. Everything in the main base is dying for HuK. He has no more income. All of his probes are dead, and that's got to be it. The rest of the army comes back for HuK, but I think even if HuK somehow killed this whole force, Neeb still has enough time to produce another equivalent army back home anyway.
He starts a war prism, which he now cancel. I think HuK knows at this point that he moved across the map at the wrong time. He missed the units of his opponent, and he should have had the Watchtower control. This could have gone so much better.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough resources or anything building to cancel to get a Nexus. So all Neeb needs to do is just not die. That's it. He just brings everything down to his natural. There's, that one observer that I think is still on the other side of the map. Okay, now it's coming over. Yeah. But I feel if you look at this army, there's so many Marines in here. There's no area of effect damage.
And Neeb is still not making bunkers. I mean, I know he's already won at this point, but I'm really feeling like he's kind of stubborn with not ever making bunkers. Is he related to Rotterdam by any chance?
he definitely plays very stubbornly. But yeah, he can almost do anything at this point. Just needs to not obviously walk down this ramp and get force fielded into several pieces. Now stepping back, loads up the rest of his forces, and Neeb's just like, okay, well, I guess he doesn't know exactly this. He only has 38 supply, and it's all an army for HuK. So he has to kill his opponent here because he doesn't have enough money to build a Nexus. That's it. He doesn't have any more bases. And if Neeb kills this, it's pretty much just over. GG. Neeb takes game number 1 against HuK. And he's shown he is not ready to be knocked out of this tournament just yet.
Much better game out of him than what we saw earlier versus Alicia. And as I said, he had to be careful. He was careful enough, and in the end, he spotted kind of what he was up against. He underestimated the blink a lot, I feel like, by dropping like he did. But I guess he must have known about the army positioning of HuK, so he knew he had time to drop in the main. In which case, even if your opponent has blink, you kind of have to fake that you're going to pick up units. Your opponent's going to blink forward like HuK does, and then you trade Marauders and Marines against Stalkers, which is always fine. And Neeb did that very, very well, while taking a third base, while playing very solid. So props to him for the solid game here.
Yeah, it felt like HuK was trying to do a lot with what he had, but on that map, those ramps, it's not that difficult to defend, and then there's just so much space for those medevacs to fly in. not playing with any type of area of effect, just going for, you've seen occasionally big Immortal Gateway pushes, but almost never see those types of pushes out of Korean players unless, there was some sort of weird, gas play by Terran Fast, and they couldn't have Stim to defend against it with, but just very solid standard play from Neeb, and he's not afraid to take some risks, and I think HuK needs to respect that, because how much of that attack you think really got slowed down by him just losing 8 probes like that?
Yeah, a lot. At this point, this should have been an ideal scenario for HuK if you think about it. When you want to be aggressive, when you're cutting walkers, if the opponent takes the fight to you, supposedly it should be very nice for you. You should be able to defend and then counter-attack and seal the deal. But at this point, the defense wasn't good enough. The units of HuK, they were misplaced, the Stalker, everything was in the natural. So when he had to go back into the main, he sent everything, and then he ended up losing quite a few probes at his natural, which was disastrous at the time.
Yeah, it's always interesting, especially you say he had the blink, he had the stalkers, but he didn't have them in the exact spot where that drop came in. And even though he was able to pick off one of those medevacs, that was right when those Marines ran into the natural expansion. So Neeb was willing to sacrifice a few units to cut down, to really slow down the aggressive potential of HuK just attacking in multiple places, and that's pretty much all you got to do. And Neeb, he wants to bring this. He wants to get that 2-0. He wants to just forget about that first match and just keep on doing it, and get that revenge match actually, if he can. Well, I guess maybe in the round of 8 if he was able to beat Revival. But we've got our lobby together. So Frost, I feel like this is a pretty even map for both matches. It's not quite as good for Blink as a map like Yeonsu or Heavy Rain.
Yeah, on Frost, as much as I guess if you scan the main, you're going to be able to see everything that your opponent's up to, as Neeb here. HuK could hide something out on the map, and finding proxy pylons is going to be a little bit trickier. So HuK could manage to trick Neeb here if he was to go for some aggression and try and surprise him. Which, to be honest, I really don't feel like he has to. Like, HuK is a good player. He doesn't need to gamble or do super aggressive builds. He could just do something standard but still pretty aggressive.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that Neeb isn't so heavily favored against HuK that he has to do something crazy to beat him. I completely agree with you. And well, here is our Protoss player who is down a map in this best of 3 in the losers round of the WCS America round of 16. From Evil Geniuses, it is HuK. And now, if there's ever a serious switch, he's got to flip it to beat this guy who has shown some great TVP when he can get past that 10-minute mark. Our blue Terran player from Fnatic, it is Neeb.
His job in this game, surviving the 10-minute mark.
And it's really what it felt like in the games against Elysian. You got to imagine.
Gas first.
Already seeing a gas first. Interesting play here.
Hellions.
There's like 2 ways generally see this build get used, and I think the most popular ways I've seen it, players like I think Maru did it twice recently in Pro League, and he did one variation where you open up. He did on Yeonsu. He did the type where you just open up with the mine drop and the Hellion run by.
What was that?
But,
you saw he pulled all his CVs and sent them into the gas. He wants gas that much.
It happens. It's
a cloak banshee it is.
You get a cloak banshee that fast. But on this map, I think the last time I seen gas first using this map was Maru going for a very fast reactor after his barracks. So it could be Hellions, definitely. Given these spawns, I think going for any type of fast drop play, you're going to reach your opponent relatively quickly.
Yeah. I think if he goes for Hellions here, against what HuK's doing, it's going to be very, very bad for HuK. I remember, was it against Pion or something? When HuK was in Korea that he played some games on like Antigua and some other map. And I remember him going for a very greedy build like this, losing every single probe to Hellions. Just because when you go for this, you're going to have very little units to deal with aggression. And I think he's going to have to be careful.
I think the layout of this map is definitely better than Antigua, though, for defending those types of attacks. But I have to agree. This is an opener that will give very late tech to HuK to deal with, something like fast Hellions. And his probe comes in here. He's going to see this. He even puts a pylon in front of the barracks. Cool. He's basically saying, yeah, I want to know that if you're going to do something silly like make an add-on, you have to move that barracks. So that being said, I feel like he doesn't have much of a choice now other than just go for a mine drop with, usually it's about you try to drop 6 Marines, 1 mine, and then you have a couple Hellions. But I think I've actually mentioned this to you before. Frost for Protoss, you can cover that ramp with Photon Overcharge from either your main or your natural because the main base is so small.
Yeah.
I feel like it's less effective on this map than it would be on a map like Yeonsu.
Okay.
I feel like it's easier to defend this type of attack.
Yeah, Neeb here is gonna, I guess, he needs to realize that he's up against a Nexus first, and then from there he can decide how much he wants to commit to this. And I'm guessing for sure he's gonna be getting a Medivac and try and drop in somewhere at least. I'm not sure how much HuK he's gonna have by this time. You see, he's just started Mothership Core and Warp Gate Research, which is he's chrono boosting both. It looks pretty scary right now, I have to say. There is a Widow Mine out, so Medivac's gonna start now. The first Stalker starts at the same time, so I think HuK, he needs to start cutting probes right now. And he needs to get Stalkers out continuously, maybe a Forge for some cannon, and at least one additional gateway, which he's getting now. Robo would be nice, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I guess he could just try to focus on the proactive side of things and stop the mine from being planted. He will get a Forge, so he can theoretically put a cannon in each mineral line. I feel like the #1 target when you want to do this build as a Terran player, though, is the ramp of the Protoss. You force them to Photon Overcharge either the natural or the main, and then send everything that you can to the base they didn't lock down.
Do you think Neeb might go for the mineral line?
I always feel like these days, the mineral line, it's you're basically rolling the dice when you go for the mineral line. You're just praying the Protoss doesn't move their probes out of the way.
By the way, Neeb didn't even bother sending in his SCV, so this is the first he's going to see the base of his opponent. I think he might be able to realize, yeah, he does what you said.
Yeah, that Cybernetics score is so late. No Photon Overcharge picks off the Stalker with the Widow Mine, and this is great because he's saying as soon as he has the energy to Photon Overcharge, he can only cover the natural. Now he's moving towards the main base, but that means he can go down that ramp. There's still a good number of probes to kill, and he has 2 Hellions, so there's the Photon Overcharge. This Widow Mine is not in range of that. He doesn't have an observer. And he picks that up. He's going to put it back on that ramp. And now, what does he have? Just a Zealot and a Stalker to cover this base. He has those 2 gateways that are now Warp Gates. But just a couple of Stalkers. This is still tough to deal with because the Medevac healing is really, really good.
The Widow Mine just reloaded. HuK needs to stay away from that. He has a cannon in his main now. And nice ult. I don't think he lost a single walker. So that means he's a little bit ahead right now on walkers. But Neeb, this is not all in, obviously. Behind this, he's going to have Medivac tech with basically right from the start. He's heading on extra barracks. He's already made the add-ons. And this is going to go into a regular game from there. HuK is the one with a choice now as to what to take to. Is it going to be Colossus or Blink? Knowing the guy, probably going to be Blink, but we'll see.
And Neeb's still trying to be aggressive. The Observer was chrono boosted out. He was able to pick off the Widow Mine without too much trouble. There we have now the Stim is probably going to start up. He can also go straight for Combat Shield at the same time if he wants, or Concussive Shell, depending on how he wants to take it. Yeah, there's the Twilight Council. I mean, he already has the +1 attack on the way, so you can still play for a Blink, maybe eventually Colossus style, like we talked about in the last game, going for high damage output on those Robo units.
With the eBay, the upgrades could start here for Neeb. He started Steam Pack and Combat Shield at the same time, so... By the way, that building placement by Neeb, the way he swapped his buildings and stuff, all of that, I have to say, the execution was very, very good. I remember actually, I used to play quite often against Neeb on the North American ladder. He's improved so much. This guy has come a long way. And I'm sure through a lot of hard practice, he was able to achieve all the improvements he's had. Interesting composition by HuK. You don't really ever see like 3 Stalkers plus 3 Sentries. Like, this is something you will see in Wings of Liberty when there was no Mothership Core to help, so that you will have the force fields. This is not supposed to be a good composition to go for, especially if your opponent makes sure he doesn't get force fielded, make sure he doesn't fight against Guardian Shield, which, oh my god, so close.
Keeping that Medevac alive from the early push, that Medevac is usually like a #1 target. I feel like if as a Protoss you want to kill that, then the Marines can't get away, you can't dance around, but as long as that Medevac's alive, there's aggressive potential for the Terran player, and it's quite low on hit points. I expect HuK to pick it off as soon as the next fight starts, or at least it's got to be your #1 target, because then this Bioforce kind of gets stuck there since Stim isn't done.
HuK is doing the same composition as he wanted to go for in the previous game. He's cutting probes again at 45. He's getting Immortals continuously from the 1 Robo he has, and he's going to add extra gateways. This time, he's going to go for a very strong timing, and this time, he didn't lose 8 probes. He was able to hold very nicely in the starts. He didn't lose a single probe, so he's fighting middle of the map now. Before Steam Pack, before anything is finished here by Neeb. And I think Neeb should be able to realize by now what's up. Does he start any bunkers? Is he going to be stubborn?
Oh, well, he's got his stim done, so he's going to rush back. He has SCVs here at the front line to repair the medevacs that were damaged, but no bunkers.
I guess he's just going to pull some SCVs to help with these.
The no bunker defense. It's the Neeb special. Concussive shell is done. I feel like with this many medevacs, even with Immortals, like this army composition, I guess he does have a good number of Marauders, but I feel like there's enough Marines that just having a lot of medevacs.
The Mothership Core is being... Okay, no, I thought he was being sent back. I guess he doesn't have that much energy, going to be kind of useless in the fight, but in a second, HuK is going to be 1-1. How many sentries does he have? He has just 2 with his army, so I guess Guardian Shield is going to be the priority here, and probably not any force fields, but I think Neeb might already have enough to be able to hold this here.
I think there's just too many medevacs, and he has +1 attack. Like, this army just shouldn't die fast enough unless he gets the glorious force fields of all time. And just stutter steps back, picks off the Zealots, and it's just Stalkers and Immortals versus Marines and Marauders. More of the SCVs are coming off. I think Neeb's realizing the direness of the situation. If he wins this game, he moves on. He gets to go to the next match to face off against Survival, and he wants to do that. The Immortals are dead, the Sentries are dead. It's just Blink Stalkers against him. Bio immediately loads up 2 medevacs. Like, I'm going straight to your base. +2 attack is on the way for HuK as well as the Robotics Bay, but I don't think that's going to be done in time.
Yeah, great move by Neeb here to go for the counter drop. He knows that he's killed the Immortals. Behind this, HuK is going to try to go for some desperation. Colossus play, he's remaking the Mothership Core. He lost that just... I think he had like about 80 energy, which is never a good situation. So he's going to lose 1 more Stalker here to that detonation. I think that drop is going to seal the deal. Possibly here for Neeb.
Yeah, just drop behind there. What are force fields going to do in a situation like this? He has just a photon cannon. Now, the Zealot Weapons are going to push him back. We'll have Sentries killed that medevac. That would be very sad.
Oh, Stalkers are going to try to catch this drop here. If they were able to.
Oh my,
this could be the start of a comeback here for HuK. He's going for a 3rd base.
He's unloading. He's unloading. So he could still try to get those medevacs, but as long as this bio travels, if they travel by ground, if they don't try to go for the air travel, they should still be able to deal a little damage. He loses one of the medevacs.
Oh, this could get surrounded. They're going to get surrounded.
Oh yeah,
you can't leave.
And the bio's coming in on the left side. He's ready to take these Stalkers all the way home, and he will pick, I just believe, just about every last one of them off, thanks to that concussive shell. The cooldown on Blink is getting lower and lower, but just 1 Stalker barely escapes. And that 3rd base, I don't see how he finishes that. Maybe he gets the Colossus out, but there is just way too much bio on the field.
This gets scans. He's like, oh god, might as well cancel. Is he going to let it finish? No,
I feel like this is... Okay, he does cancel. I was going to say, I feel like this is a situation where HuK just tries to do everything at once.
Yeah.
Because he realizes he's so far behind. He needs a little bit of a miracle to bring this game back. And Neeb just needs to be careful going up this ramp. The Colossus is not with that army just yet. Now joining it. Range about halfway done. +2 attack is about to complete. But that just means this Protoss army will die that much faster since it doesn't have that armor versus these Marines. But I guess the Colossus will kill them more quickly.
Thermal Lens is not finished yet. This could be a strong timing by Neeb here, but a bunch of force fields are available. Guardian Shield as well. Oh, he's actually going to go for a Time Warp.
And the Stalkers blink up. He's saying you can't load up and retreat. And he's going to try to split some of these units with the medevacs. There's just so much bio here that Mothership Core uses the Time Warp so no photon overcharge. If he can kill this Colossus, I think it's pretty much over. He should be able to just knock the rest of this Gateway army down with how many Marines he has.
Is about to finish. 3, 2, 1, done.
And he force fields a couple of these units in, but the Stalkers can't really blink across the force fields just yet, since there are still a couple little mines as well here, helping to cover this. The problem here is, it's actually funny, he tries to stop Mules at this 3rd base. There is a pylon there,
yeah.
So
the
could
thing
potentially
is,
harass it.
Yeah, but he can't afford to warp units there. There's probably, again, the reinforcements of Neeb nearby. And HuK seeing that 3rd base, he knows that he has to make something happen. I like that Neeb is going for the 2nd starport. And, well, actually, he completed that on a reactor, so he's making Vikings 4x4 right now. That's definitely gonna help in holding against this upcoming Colossus attack.
Yeah, once he gets the next wave of Vikings after this out, I don't see how this army stacks up too much more against this. It's always interesting. It's interesting to see how this attack upgrade focus works. But Neeb can actually he heals up his army pretty damn fast with the medevac count that he has.
How many Vikings is he on? Just 5?
Yeah.
And well, making them 4x4 is it's like, well, 3 rounds of Vikings, let's go. And at this point, he's gonna get a cancel on that base. HuK in so much trouble. I think HuK was hoping there would be a drop in the main here. You see the way he moved his army. He went with his entire army in his main. So I think he was hoping maybe there would be a drop so that he could blink there.
This is a nice attack on the third base, though, as he also pokes this army. I think he's just trying.
Oh, the Zealots?
He's really trying to force a mistake.
The Zealots are walking by instead of doing the job. He's using the F2 key, I think.
The F2
Oh, there
key.
we go.
That's a real stinger. The
Vikings
funny thing
versus
is,
Zealots.
I think the Zealots win pretty easily, especially with that +2.
Are you kidding me with the SCVs? Look at them.
I'd like to see the SCV Viking
Look
army
at them how
versus
fast they
Zealots.
took off the ground. Who's running now? And 3 Colossi for HuK here. He's not getting a 4th one. He's getting charged behind this and 2/2 upgrades. So as much as he's doing okay on upgrades, Neeb is as well. Neeb has 2/2 on the way. He's gonna have his +2 attack finish before his +2 armor. And I think Neeb with this attack might be able to end the game here because he has so much more army supply. As long as he doesn't take a horrible fight, and as long as there is no storm, which there isn't, 2 Archons are gonna be added, which might help a lot here for HuK, but...
So, yeah, there's just 10 Vikings. There's Widow Mines detonating on a few of the Zealots, but that disrupts the mining at the third base for Neeb.
Dude, the Zealots are angry.
I guess this is it. It's now or never. There's Mothership Core gets sniped. No time warp from HuK, and Neeb is just going to fight right through this, stepping the bio back as those Vikings clear out all of the Colossi. Nothing left there. We might even see a land from behind. That's the Terran force field right there. No running back through that. As Neeb just stims forward the rest of his bio into this, and he clears out the Vikings. He's going to run away, but there's no additional Colossus. It's just a couple Zealots and Stalkers. That's it. And with this many medevacs, I don't see any way that Neeb's army can be stopped. GG, our American Terran player is not down just yet. Neeb with the 2-0 over the Canadian HuK, trying to represent his side of the North America continent. He'll go up to play against Revival. We have a weird statistic for Neeb's TVZ. I think it was like his highest one there. But what a great series by Neeb.
You're American, you play Terran. Is this guy your biggest hero right now?
This guy is he's also one of my favorite streamers to watch.
Really?
Yeah.
How often does he stream?
Not very often since he got into WCS. That's the only bad part. But he streams pretty regularly.
So it was worth all the waits.
It was worth it. I've been saving all my hype for this guy for a while, and he's definitely put up some results worth taking note of, guys. As well, I still think this next match room is gonna be pretty hard. I think even diehard Neeb supporters like me would be pretty surprised if he was able to take out Revival.
Well, how would you rate his TVZ in comparison to his TVP? He's supposed to be better. Isn't TVZ supposed to be his best matchup?
TVZ is supposed to be most Terran's best matchups. I think he's pretty solid in it, and if his macro is anything to say about it, he was constantly getting units out versus HuK. He didn't, one thing I didn't really notice, Neeb having maybe one supply block at like 169 supply, but he already had such a big lead, it was kind of negligible. So I think if he doesn't make the same kind of mistakes that he almost made in TVP, like underestimating certain attacks, then he definitely stands a solid chance as far as the micro department goes, but we've seen Revival pull some pretty cool tricks out of his sleeve.
Except flying a pack of Mutas into Widow Mines.
Yeah, there's that. And I think we have an interview with Paul over in the other studio. So take it away, Paul.
Thanks very much, Nathanius. With Neeb, congratulations. Fantastic 2-0 win against a legendary North American player. Just talk to me about what you're feeling right now.
It's great. I didn't expect to even win a game coming here, so just felt really good.
Okay, I know that before you travelled over here for your first big tournament offline, that it was quite nerve-wracking for you. So talk to me about how you cope with your nerves, because your first game today, it seemed like you were a bit nervous. I don't know whether that made any difference to the way you played or not, but you seem to have lost those nerves in that game. It was much more like the Neeb we've seen online.
Yeah, just whenever I lose a game, I just stop being nervous because there's nothing to lose if I'm losing. So I just play better after I've lost a few games and get used to everything.
Okay. Talk us through the first map against HuK.
There wasn't really much. It was like a normal game, but he decided to attack me for whatever reason in the mid game, and you can't really attack Terran in the mid game because Terran always wins base trades.
I'm glad you said that. I should learn to do that more often. And the second map, it just seemed to be very patient. You weren't rushing in. There was several chances you could have had at several points where you probably could have crushed his army, but you were playing it very patiently. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I thought I could drop him a few times, but I decided to just play it safe because I really wanted to win 2-0.
Okay. Well, congratulations. You have won 2-0. You're going on to play Revival now for a place in the round of 8. How much would that mean to you?
Mean a lot. Staying here another week would be great. But I don't think I can win.
Don't be like that. We've lots of hopes on you, and I think, if you play as well as you did against HuK, I think you've got every chance in the world. One final question. Your mum's with you this week. I find it incredible. I'm older than your mum, which is also amazing, but it's amazing that she's so accepting of what you wanted to do in your life and supports you coming to the tournaments like this. I mean, just tell me about that.
Yeah, it's nice to not have someone limiting you while you can play and whatever. So I can just focus on StarCraft and not worry about my parents interfering.
That must be fantastic. Well, congratulations. 2-0 win over HuK, and we'll see how you get on against Revival in the next game. That's Neeb, everyone, and maybe a new star is born. Certainly he's showing us exactly what he's capable of as an American Terran. He will go on to play Revival next, and that'll be our final game of the night here in Group B. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure you tune in for the final game.